Hands must roll. Ay, she's not here. They were speculating. Yeah. Ito di Manila. Sino? What's his name? Oh, Rico. My friend, Rico from Bogota. No, here. ¿Hablas español? Next week. Yeah. Welcome. I met somebody from Bogota. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Uno. Kita ba siya? Okay. Uno. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. May I request our President, Eddie Galvez, Ken, and Boom to join us here in front. Our guest speaker is on his way. Hindi manganganak ha, yung on the way, hindi kasi pag sinabi mong on the way baka manganak 'yon. Hindi manganganak. So we'll start okay? Sige, Ken. Okay. May I call on our President, Eddie Galvez, to call this meeting to order?
Okay, on behalf of Rotary Club of Makati, I call this meeting to order.
Okay. May I call on Rotarian Director Boom to lead us in our invocation.
Let us all place ourselves in the holy presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty God, we gather today as Rotarians, united in friendship and service. Grant us wisdom to guide our discussions, compassion to understand others, and integrity to act for the common good. Bless the work of our hands and minds, that what we decide here may uplift our communities and bring hope where it's needed most. May our fellowship strengthen our resolve to serve above self and to be instruments of peace, goodwill, and lasting change. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please keep standing for the national anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, elas ng sinakanan,
giting sa manlulupin. Di ka pasisikin sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagkaw. Ay hinagang tulad awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magtitindig. Lumalang araw ng walhagit pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya ng partay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Mga
Okay, now for the Makati Rotary Hymn.
We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, prepared to aid our fellow men. As true Rotarians we live to lead. We believe in service above self, and this is why we succeed. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, giving hope to the world. The Rotary Club of Makati.
Okay, thank you. Please take your seats. And now the four-way test of the things we say and do. Sino bang gusto mag four-way test dyan? Wala? Oh. Oh, yan. Our Rotaractors. Yan. Okay.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon.
Oh.
po.
Of the
Um,
things we say
The
and do.
four-way test of the things we think, say, or do, please repeat after me. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all
And
concerned?
the answer to all this is a resounding
Yes.
thank you so much.
Parang hindi pa tayo kumain ng lunch ah. Can we do that? What is our answer? Yes. Yan. Okay. Thank you. Now can we acknowledge and say hello to our guests? Present. Past District Governor Tony Kila. Tony? Governor Tony? Past District Governor Sid Garcia. Fresh from Santa Elena. From congratulating our champion, Miguel Tabuena. And of course, where's Ann Rachel? I saw Ann Rachel already. Baka papasok pa lang. Okay? And guest of Philip, our prospective member, Mr. Chris Edwards. Whether he likes it or not, he's already a prospective or a member already. Okay. From the Rotaract Club of Makati, PPAJ Sembrano, Director John Kirk Grospe, PP Adrian Manuel, Kenneth Villamor, and fresh from Jamaica, Valeros. Ayan. Kita mo, galing Jamaica pa yan. Okay. So we'll now have our welcome song for our guests. Please, Rotarians, please stand up to welcome our guests.
Friends of Rotary, we greet you. All friends of Rotary, we greet you. We want you to feel that our friendship is real. We are glad you're here today. So take back home a bit of cheer. Regards from all the fellows here. And when once more you're here our door, come again, our friends, come again.
Okay, now we'll have our birthday greetings. Sino bang may birthday ngayon? Okay, October 28, Felix Ang and Hero Oba. October 30, J. Bernardo. October 31, Samyang. November 2, Doc Andrew Prieto. And November 3, Director CB. So si CB is there, CB Revilla. Palakpakan naman natin. Happy birthday. And for our wedding anniversary, Reggie and Sue Ann Nolido, October 31. Governor Reggie and Sue Ann, October 31. Palakpakan natin. Okay, our guest speaker, Commodore J. Tarriela, is already here with us. Sige, Commodore, have lunch first. Mahirap talaga Commodore pag may putukan sa West Philippine Sea, pinapatawag sa Malacanang. Okay. So we'll have sino bang kakanta ng ating birthday and anniversary? Ayan, pagkatapos ng picture, kakanta si Louie. Louie, our birthday and anniversary song. Sino pa? And Winston. Louie and Winston will sing. Birthday anniversary song. It's either you sing or you donate 50,000.
Oh, you sing with me.
You sing.
Winston, You can
You sing
share
with
it.
Louie.
Get that mic.
There's the other mic.
Get
There's
this
the
mic,
other
man.
mic.
No, come on.
Because Eddie will penalize you.
We'll sing a cappella, Winston.
Okay, this one's dedicated to Howie. No.
All right, go. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It is your birthday and wedding day. Let's celebrate this important day. We greet you deep in our hearts still. A happy birthday and happy wedding day. See, Winston?
Hey. Oh, see, Winston, you
Just
can
a
do
walk
that.
in the park, Winston, right?
That's better than donating another 50,000 to Eddie. Okay. Sige, pa-point po muna natin yung guest speaker natin, si Commodore. Kain muna. Oo. Kumain na daw sa Malacanang dahil pag may water cannon, talagang pinapatawag sa Malacanang eh. Mapapakinggan natin lahat yan. We will listen to all of the. Sorry to Chris. I hope you understand my Tagalog. Okay. So, what's next? Okay, Paul Harris recognition. Gov Tony. Gov Tony Kila.
Thank you, P. Howie. Can I ask our Paul Harris to be recognized, who have not yet been recognized? And can I ask President Eddie Galvez to do the pinning? First is Mike Del Carmen for his first Paul Harris. Then we have Ambassador Melvin Castellino for his second Paul Harris. He will have a pin with a blue stone. And then we stay here so we can have a group picture. Treasurer Leo De Leon for his third Paul Harris. Leo, you'll have a pin with the two blue stones. Ano nangyari? Director Andy Manyalak, third Paul Harris, two blue stones. Andy. Then PN Chris Ferraresa, seventh Paul Harris. He has one red stone. And finally, we have past President Eddie Yap for his ninth Paul Harris, three red stone. Okay. Yeah. So Winston Oil for his third Paul Harris. Ria, third. So two blue stones for Winston Oil. Next time, past President Eddie Yap will have his major donor.
I'll be introducing you later.
Okay, congratulations to our new and continuing Paul Harris members. Okay. So, titignan natin kung sino yung mga tatabi na kay kay Gov ulit, kay Gov Tony. Kung may Gov Tony, may tatabi pa ba sa inyo? Baka wala nang tumabi sa inyo. Oh. The best seat in the room is beside Gov Tony. It's worth $1,000 every time you sit beside him. Okay. Any club function, club announcements from anybody? Wala. Okay. Now, with the indulgence of President Eddie, he's asking for an excuse letter for today. The President's time will be announced and read by next Governor Louie. Now, District Secretary, next Governor Louie. Palakpakan naman natin.
You will really be in the #1 hit list of my wife. Okay, so as usual, the president is still afflicted with laryngitis, and he understands that most of us cannot do sign language. Unless you can understand sign language, I'm going to read his president's time. So, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and friends. What a night that was. The District 3030 Oktoberfest held last Friday at our very own RC Makati Clubhouse. And it was truly one for the books. Over 250 Rotarians, guests, and friends filled our venue with energy, laughter, and fellowship. With live bands, a top-tier DJ, wow, that John Robinson is good, no? Damn good. And a fantastic crowd. The atmosphere was electric, all in the spirit of fun and in support of our End Polio campaign. Before I continue, let's relive that unforgettable night with this same-day edit video.
Welcome our Oktoberfest 2025 Chairman, immediate past President, Keith Harrison.
Good evening, this is Oktoberfest. This is the 24th of October 2025. This is World End Polio Now Day as designated by the United Nations. Please enjoy it, please sponsor End Polio Now and make sure that we eradicate this awful disease from the face of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here at our Oktoberfest for this year. Please know that not only are we here to have fun and to be with each other and then to really, spend time together, the more important thing is that we remember that we're doing this to support our End Polio program. We are really this close to finally getting rid of polio in the world, and we are thankful that you are here with us to support this project. So let's all have fun tonight, and always remember that as we unite for good, we are trying to end polio in the world. Thank you very much and good evening. Bye.
It is about not inhuman, but inhuman. Inhuman, yes, fellowship. He introduced the now well-loved Friday Night Lights.
Thank you very much to all of you, and let's have a blast tonight.
Thank you very much for coming here, but there's plenty more of the evening to come along. So, Andy.
Yeah, that was indeed a blast. So a big round of applause and heartfelt thanks to the entire organizing team led by immediate past President Keith Harrison for pulling off yet another incredible event. You've made our club proud once again. And special thanks as well to our generous sponsors, Winston Uy. Now we know, Winston, how to make you sing. We're just going to ask you to donate 50,000 pesos. Felix Ang, GGNA Club Chairs, Director Andy Manyalak, past President Peter Manzano, and Mike Toledo for their unwavering support. We're also grateful to our birthday celebrants who helped defray part of the cost or expenses of the event cost, and to our concessionaire for keeping everyone happy and well-fed throughout the night. Having done these 2 years in a row, it's clear that Oktoberfest at the RC Makati Clubhouse is quickly becoming a club tradition. And what makes it even more meaningful is that our clubhouse stands on Rotary historic hallowed ground, the very site where the first drop of the polio vaccine was administered in the Philippines. So for those who missed the fun this year, don't worry. We will raise our mugs again next year, even bigger and better. Another tradition taking root is our Halloween party for the children of Guadalupe Viejo, held once again at our clubhouse in partnership with Prodigious Philippines and First Lady Sue Ann Nolido. This has become a special way for First Lady Sue Ann to celebrate her birthday by sharing joy, treats, and laughter with the children of our neighboring community. Thank you, First Lady Sue Ann, for showing us that service can be both joyful and meaningful. Through this annual celebration, we not only bring smiles to the kids, but also strengthen our bond with the Guadalupe Viejo community. Last Sunday, we also kicked off the second run of our Sunday Food and Books sa Luneta project with our partner, Bolanday. This initiative began during IPP Keith's term and continues to make a difference for street children by promoting literacy and nutrition. This year, we're sustaining the program for another year and adding something new. Art Sunday, an initiative led by Anne Angela Garcia, where she teaches art to the children. Their artworks will even be sold to support their needs. Thank you again, IPP Keith, for continuing to champion this cause. And to everyone here, if you find yourself in Luneta on a Sunday morning, please drop by. Your presence and encouragement means so much to the children we serve. Just yesterday, our very own Batman and Robin duo, Nikki Ramos and Yaron Hahami, together with IPP Keith, joined a cancer screening mission in Caloocan City in partnership with RC Grace Park. This mobile screening bus provides women the chance to detect cancer early. And as we know, early detection saves lives. We're also proud to share that the same cancer screening bus, along with the WOW Clinic, a mobile unit capable of performing minor surgeries, will be joining our upcoming medical caravan on November 8 in Vigan, November 9 in Narvacan, both in Ilocos Sur, and November 10 in Baguio. If you happen to be in any of those areas, please come by and see the impact we're making through Rotary service. And of course, our Rotary aunts have been busier than ever. For the third consecutive month, they held another lively fellowship, this time at the lovely home of Anne Camille Macashar and co-host Anne Angela Garcia in Alabang. Our aunts have shown incredible energy and generosity this year, not only in fellowship, but also in our service projects. After a successful Rotary Aunts Day celebration earlier this month, they are now gearing up for the Last Angel gift-giving project. Thank you, dear aunts, for your enthusiasm, your warmth, and your unwavering support for RC Makati. Now, let's take a quick look at what's ahead this November. I think you can see this in your kaunlaran. Next week, we will have Attorney Roel Refran, Chief Operating Officer of the Philippine Stock Exchange as our guest speaker for our luncheon meeting at the Peninsula, Manila. Then, on Thursday, November 13, we will be holding a joint meeting with the Rotary Club of Makati West and the Rotary Club of Manila at the Dusit Thani Hotel, where Senator Bam Aquino will be our guest speaker. That's November 13. And of course, please save the date, December 9, 2025. That's a Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month, for our Christmas party. And this will be held at the Manila Polo Club right after our annual membership meeting, also on the same venue. It's going to be a night to remember. Manila Polo Club, our Christmas party, December 9. Huh? This is not a Friday, this is a Tuesday. So once again, thank you for all your time, your fellowship, and your dedication to unite for good. Let's keep the Rotary spirit strong and continue serving with heart and joy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, President's time. In behalf of President Eddie, thank you, Governor Louie, or next Governor Louie. Palakpakan naman natin. But Gov Louie, you have been mentioning PP Keith eh. But I will mention, of course, the wind behind PP Keith. Palakpakan naman natin, hindi magiging successful yan without Anne Rachel. Over there. Di ba? And she was responsible for John Robinson. Okay, John Robinson, but that's past my time. I did not reach John Robinson. So next time, I promise you, we will have Jane Robinson. Wow. So let's see who that Jane will be. Okay, so let's not have another lengthy discussion, but we will have our speaker next. We'll have our Rotarian Ken to introduce our speaker. Ken?
Thank you, Sir Howie. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Coast Guard Commodore J. Tristan Tarriela, a remarkable officer and a true embodiment of excellence in the uniformed service. Commodore Tarriela holds the distinction of being the youngest ever to be promoted to a flag or star rank in the Philippines. And to this day, he remains the youngest general in the entire uniformed service. Currently serving as the PCG spokesperson on the West Philippine Sea and the commander of the PCG West Philippine Sea Transparency Group, he has become the face of the Philippines' transparency strategy in countering China's aggressive actions, provocative behavior, and bullying tactics in the region. Through his efforts, more Filipinos have gained awareness of the real story and the crucial stakes involved in our fight for sovereignty. Furthermore, his dedication to transparency has garnered international support, with global communities standing alongside the Philippines in condemning China's blatant violation of international law and its disregard for the rules-based order. Commodore Tarriela's extensive education has played a pivotal role in shaping his expertise. He completed his PhD at the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, or GRIPS, in Tokyo, as a Japan International Cooperative Agency ASEAN Public Policy Leadership Scholar. He has also undergone rigorous military and Coast Guard training, both locally and abroad. Additionally, he holds a Master's of Policy Studies from GRIPS and the Japan Coast Guard Academy, where he was among the first batch of the Maritime Safety and Security Program launched jointly by both institutions in 2016. For being acknowledged as his scholarly engagement right after his doctoral degree, Commodore Tarriela was chosen as an inaugural cohort of the 2021 Pacific Forum U.S.-Philippines Next Generation Leaders Initiative. He also has been selected as a fellow of the 2021 East-West Center U.S.-Philippines Alliance Fellowship in Washington, D.C., USA. In recognition of his remarkable contributions to the PCG's efforts in the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tristan Tarriela was honored with a prestigious Coast Guard Distinguished Service Medal by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in 2023. This award acknowledges Commodore Tarriela's invaluable contributions to transparency initiatives in the region. Additionally, he was bestowed the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung for the Security Innovation and Award last year, which recognizes his tireless efforts in raising awareness among Filipinos about China's aggression in the West Philippine Sea and igniting renewed sense of patriotism. Without further ado, I give the floor to Commodore J. Tristan Tarriela. Commodore.
Thank you for a very generous introduction, sir. I would like to apologize if I bore you about my entire biodata. First of all, I would like to thank President Eddie Galvez, Attorney Howie Calleja for inviting me here to give you a talk about the West Philippine Sea. But before I start, I would like to engage everybody to size up how deep your knowledge is when we talk about the West Philippine Sea. So my first question is, question and answer pala to, sir, no? Sorry, sir. My first question is, where is the West Philippine Sea? Saan ang West Philippine Sea?
Nautical miles from the western shore of the Philippines.
Yes, sir. Are there any? Yes, sir. That's correct, sir. Partially correct. Where is the West Philippine Sea? West of Palawan. Are there any other response where the West Philippine Sea is? Sir, what's your take, sir? Where is the West Philippine Sea?
It's close to Scarborough Fair.
Close to Scarborough. Where? So, yes. So West Philippine Sea, as what Sir Winston said a while ago, it is actually the exclusive economic zone of our country. According to UNCLOS, any coastal state is entitled for 200 nautical miles exclusive economic zone measured from the baseline. However, if we're really going to read the administrative order signed by President Noynoy Aquino, he has a very explicit definition of where the West Philippine Sea is. It is not just our exclusive economic zone defined by UNCLOS, but it also includes the Luzon Sea, Bajo de Masinloc, and Kalayaan Island Group. And it is also wrong to think that West Philippine Sea is only located in Zambales or in Palawan. As what you all said, West Philippine Sea is on the western border of our country, meaning it starts on the northernmost province of the Philippines, which is Batanes, Ilocos Region, Pangasinan, Zambales, Bataan, Mindoro, and Palawan. Those are the entire coastal municipalities that cover the entire West Philippine Sea. You only hear about Zambales all because of Bajo de Masinloc. You also hear about Palawan because of the Kalayaan Island. But the entire West Philippine Sea is actually our western seaboard. My next question is, dito naman tayo sa mga bagets, sir, no? To be fair, the younger generations and the senior people, what is the difference between West Philippine Sea and South China Sea?
Actually, sir, I'm not familiar. That's why I'm here.
Who knows what's the difference between West Philippine Sea and South China Sea? Yes.
Based on my understanding, South China Sea is the whole region of the seas on that part of the world, while the West Philippine Sea only covers the 200 nautical mile. Yes, po.
Correct. West Philippine Sea is just a portion of the entire South China Sea. if you're going to look at your Google map, you're going to see a very large body of water. And internationally, we call it South China Sea. It basically separates China, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and other Southeast Asian countries. That is the big body of water. But even if it's called South China Sea, it doesn't follow that it belongs to China, right? Although some of the pro-China trolls are saying that it's South China Sea, that's why it has to be owned by China, right? But it doesn't follow that way. The same thing with Indian Ocean. It doesn't mean that Indian Ocean belongs to India. So that kind of false analogy is not correct. But the West Philippine Sea, as I have defined a while ago, this is actually our exclusive economic zone defined by UNCLOS. We have our own legitimate basis regarding this position. My third question is this for the younger generation. Simply yes or no. Do you believe that West Philippine Sea is disputed? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I'd say yes.
Yes.
You know, that's the common response of our younger generations today. I have been giving a talk to engaging the universities from different parts of the country. 8 out of 10 students from college and different universities across the country, they would always say West Philippine Sea is disputed. And that is the problem that we have right now. Because if we are really certain that the West Philippine Sea belongs to the Filipino people, if you're going to look at the premise of the question, as a Filipino, do you believe that West Philippine Sea is disputed? The answer should be no. Because again, the 2016 Arbitral Award has already invalidated the illegal and excessive claim of the People's Republic of China. And that's the reason why we need to keep on engaging our youth today. As what Justice Carpio has always been mentioning, our fight in the West Philippine Sea is intergenerational. It is not something that will be, solved in the next coming years or in 2028 before President Marcos steps down. This will continue to linger on, and the West Philippine Sea will be inherited by the next generation of Filipinos. And that is the problem that we need to address right now, to prepare our youth to make sure that the next generation of Filipinos will still keep on standing firm for our rights in the West Philippine Sea. Slide. So I'll proceed now with my short brief about. So under this administration, we now have what we call the Philippines Transparency Initiative, wherein we expose the Chinese aggression, not just to the Filipino people, but to the international community. A lot of people are asking, like, why are we doing this now? But during the previous administration, nobody really heard about so much about what's happening in the West Philippine Sea. Next slide. In 2012, during the time of President Noynoy Aquino, his approach in the West Philippine Sea is on a legal perspective. That is the reason why we decided to file a case at the arbitral court. And this procedure is actually part of the UNCLOS Annex 7 that allows countries to negotiate peacefully through arbitration. And for President Noynoy Aquino's administration, he believed that the international law is actually an equalizer of all nations. Whether you are big or small, when you talk about the international law, it should all be applied to everybody. There are no special treatment. And because of that belief, a year after the standoff in 2012, President Noynoy Aquino's administration pushed for the arbitration to directly challenge the unlawful claim of the People's Republic of China. For some international community security analysts about the decision of President Noynoy Aquino, they tried to illustrate it as a battle between David and Goliath. Because for the first time, a country like the Philippines is suing China which is one of the biggest economies then and until now in the world. Next slide. But when the arbitral award came out, the president is no longer President Noynoy Aquino. It was already President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. And unfortunately, during his entire stay as president of this country, he was not able to leverage the 2016 arbitral award. As a matter of fact, he even said that it is just a piece of paper that he's just going to throw in a waste basket. The international community is actually disappointed on how we valued the power of the international law. Because for President Duterte, it's nothing. And a lot, these are statements that he gave when he was a president. For a lot of occasions, he would say he needs China, he loves China, he loves Xi Jinping, he wants the Philippines to be a province of the People's Republic of China. And when he was asked in 2020 during the pandemic about his promise of riding a jet ski, planting a Philippine flag in the West Philippine Sea, he said he was just joking. So those are just campaign lines that he used to fool the Filipino people that he really has the guts to stand up for our rights in the West Philippine Sea. For your information, President Duterte is the only president that visited Beijing 5 times without actually going to Washington. And not even mentioning about Washington, but he's the only president who went to China, right? If there was no pandemic in 2020 until 2022, probably he even went to China more, right? So for President Duterte, he believes that too much diplomacy. For him, it's diplomacy, but for maritime security scholars, we call it appeasement. It's actually an appeasement towards Xi Jinping that he failed to stand up for our rights in the West Philippine Sea. Next slide. When President Bongbong Marcos was elected, and even during the presidential campaign, we never really heard anything about the position of President Bongbong Marcos about the West Philippine Sea. Only until he delivered his first State of the Nation address in 2022, when he said that he's not going to surrender a square inch of our territory to any foreign power. But the challenge for President Marcos is how he can be able to unite our country in standing up for our rights in the West Philippine Sea. Because he inherited a nation wherein very significantly low level of appreciation of the Filipinos when it comes to the West Philippine Sea. We cannot blame majority of the Filipinos during that time because we had a president before him that would always highlight that there's no need for us to stand up for our rights in the West Philippine Sea because there will be war. And he would always threaten the Filipino people that if we keep on pushing for our rights in the West Philippine Sea, in just a matter of days, China can invade the Philippines. So for President Marcos, he has to provide the right information to the Filipino people. Next slide. From 2016 to 2022, there were only 3 incidents that were publicized during the time of the Duterte administration. The first one was in June of 2019, when Filipino fishermen from Mindoro went out to the media and they said they were intentionally robbed and they were left to die. Pinabayaan kaming mamatay at binangga kami sa recto bank ng mga Chinese na mangingisda. When that news reached the office of the president, President Duterte said, wag na nating palakihin ang isang ordinaryong banggaan lamang. He downplayed the incident as if it's just a normal thing. And then the second incident was when the Philippine Coast Guard publicized the presence of more than 220 Chinese maritime militia in Julian, Pilipinas. During that time, our best spokesperson was Attorney Harry Roque. And he said, we should not worry about that because Julian Felipe Reef is not even part of our own exclusive economic zone. But to fact check him, Julian Felipe Reef only has a distance of 122 nautical miles from the province of Palawan, meaning it is inside our own exclusive economic zone. But for Harry Roque, we should care less because it's not part of our exclusive economic zone. And then the third incident was in November of 2021, when Secretary Lorenzana himself posted it in his social media, condemning and criticizing the use of water cannon of the Chinese Coast Guard. These are the only incidents that came out to the media. But this does not show that these are the only incidents that are happening in the West Philippine Sea. If you ask any ordinary Filipino fisherman right now, if you ask them, is the level of aggression increasing or has increased during this administration? They would confidently say the aggression then and now remains to be the same. But what they appreciate right now is that the Filipino people and the international community is aware of what's happening. Next slide. Do you still remember, sir, what this video is about? Yes. This was a China Coast Guard vessel using a military-grade laser. And that military-grade laser, when it hit the eyes of our Coast Guard sailors, BRP Malapascua, they experienced temporary blindness. Nabulag sila ng 10 to 15 seconds. And this was the first incident that under this administration, President Marcos has approved to be released to the media. This was actually the birth of the Transparency Initiative. Next slide. The Transparency Initiative of the Philippine government right now has two main objectives. The first one, as I said, is to increase the awareness of the Filipino people. The only way that you can unite our country for the West Philippine Sea is when you provide them with the right information. And through the right information, we can be able to awaken the sense of patriotism of our kababayan when it comes to the West Philippine Sea. And then the second objective is also for the international community to be aware that in this part of the world, China is the one that violates international law. And our fight in the West Philippine Sea is not just about our rights. It's not just about our sovereignty or maritime jurisdiction. That the international community must support our fight because the one that is being jeopardized here and the one that is being challenged here is the international law and the rules-based order. Next slide. For more than 2 years already of doing the transparency efforts, more Filipinos are supporting our fight and our efforts in the West Philippine Sea. The most recent Pulse Asia survey results said that 94% of Filipinos appreciate the Transparency Initiative. 9 out of 10 Filipinos would like the government to keep on publicizing and exposing Chinese unlawful and bullying tactics in the West Philippine Sea. It's because it allows them to understand what is happening in the West Philippine Sea. Next slide. Because of the Filipino people's approval of our fight in the West Philippine Sea, it became easier for us to get the support of the Congress and the Senate. As a matter of fact, we are now acquiring more vessels from Japan and even from France. But my favorite photo in this slide is actually Senator Bato de la Rosa, because 6 years ago, Senator Bato de la Rosa is one of those senators who are very silent about the West Philippine Sea. But in 2023, when he attended a basketball match between the Philippines and China, he even wear a West Philippine Sea t-shirt. I would say he had a change of heart, sir. He had a change of heart, right? For a day, yes. Next slide. And, before, although all of these like-minded states are against the Chinese aggression, whenever they issue statements, they are also very careful as well before we started the transparency efforts. As a matter of fact, it was only the United States Embassy who would really call out China. The Embassy of the United States condemns the aggressive action of the People's Republic of China in the South China Sea, blah, blah, blah. But for other countries who claim to be like-minded states, they consider China as Voldemort in Harry Potter, a country that cannot be named. Their statements, their earlier statements in 2023 is like, the embassy of blank is concerned about the tension in the South China Sea. They cannot even name the People's Republic of China or the China Coast Guard or the PLA Navy warship. But because of the transparency efforts of the government, that we expose this internationally, it also puts pressure on all these like-minded states to follow the US government's approach in exposing aggressive action of China in the West Philippine Sea. If we're going to look at all these embassies, for example, Canada. Canada is concerned by the dangerous maneuver and use of water cannon by the Coast Guard and maritime militia of the People's Republic of China. This is the second most important impact of our transparency efforts, wherein the international community is no longer hesitant to challenge and condemn those unlawful activities of the People's Republic of China. Next slide. And before, every time that their annual G7 summit, they never talk about South China Sea. They never talk about Chinese aggressive actions in the South China Sea. But because of the transparency efforts in 2023, we heard the G7 declaring South China Sea arbitral ruling to be something to be respected and recognized by the international community. In 2024, they also call out the aggressive action of China in the South China Sea. And then also this year, they were also concerned about the dangerous maneuvers of the Chinese government in the West Philippine Sea. The G7 national leaders, as you all know, are the most powerful countries in the world. And all of these national leaders have already expressed their support and recognized the 2016 Arbitral Award. Next slide. But despite of our transparency efforts in the West Philippine Sea, our government is still struggling to win the factual narrative in the West Philippine Sea. Because the Chinese government, they never really care whether these are lies or misinformation or fake news. You know, that photo, he is Ambassador Wang Silian. A day after we publicized the use of military-grade laser, he had a press conference. And he said, what Commodore Tarriela said about the military-grade laser is entirely misinformation. He said it was just an ordinary laser pointer that you can even buy online through Shopee. You know how ridiculous that kind of statement was. But for him, he never really cared about that. He just wants to, provide misinformation to confuse the Filipino people. And then the second lies of the Chinese government is always to destroy the credibility of the messengers. And I'm one of their favorites. They said that I'm part of the CIA, that even my mother wouldn't agree. Right? Kung mukha-mukha lang daw, I won't pass, right? And they also said that I'm receiving a $6 million stipend from the US government. If, to be honest, sir, if I have $6 million now, probably I'll just migrate somewhere else, right? But that's how ridiculous those statements and lies are. And the third lie that they always use every time that there are incidents in the West Philippine Sea is that it is the Philippine government that provokes the Chinese government. You know, it's very easy for us to counter that stupid claim of the Chinese government. Because as you all know, our Coast Guard vessel is so small compared to their Coast Guard vessel. It's so cute. It's only 44-meter vessel. But for the Chinese Coast Guard vessel, they have a length of 130, 120, and even the largest of 165 meters. It's like comparing a Toyota Wigo, provoking a 16-wheeler truck, right? Just for you to compare how stupid that claim was. Next slide. Well, I decided to shorten my lecture because I really want to know whether you have questions or clarifications about the West Philippine Sea. But again, let me emphasize, our fight in the West Philippine Sea is something that will be passed on to the next generation of Filipinos. And when we talk about West Philippine Sea, we should see it not on a political lens, whether you supported the Dutertes, the Marcoses, or the Aquinos. West Philippine Sea is the only unifying issue of this country. It's because our fight in the West Philippine Sea is a fight for everyone who really love this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commodore J. Teka, marami nang nag-raise ng hand. Let's have Commodore J sit down and we are open for some questions, Commodore, no? Siguro simulan natin from our direct from Russia, Comrade Comrade Boy. Hindi. Yan ang tawag lang namin sa ating comrade, no? Comrade Boy. Boy,
Comrade
Rotarian
J.
Boy.
Maayong hapon. Okay, more than us, you have personally witnessed the aggressive behavior of China against our Philippine Navy and even against the Philippine Coast Guard. Water cannon, laser ramming our vessel. My question is simple. Until when should we allow ourselves to be bullied by China? Nakakapagod na eh. All we do is file a diplomatic protest which goes straight to the wastebasket in the China's embassy. So until when should we allow ourselves to be bullied by China?
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to respond to your question in accordance with the guidance of the President and on a very pragmatic way. President Marcos has always been mentioning that diplomacy is our way to go in settling our disputes with not just with China, but any other claimant states in the South China Sea. Primarily because he always mentioned that in our constitution, renouncing war is not really a policy that he has to espouse, right? Secondly, for the Philippine Coast Guard, every time, it really saddens me every time that I expose the use of water cannon of the Chinese Coast Guard against the Philippine Coast Guard. People are making comments on social media. They were saying like, Coast Guard duwag, Coast Guard walang balls, Coast Guard blah, blah, blah. And I always explain to them that if you are watching the news or hearing this through social media as you enjoy the comfort of your home in an air-conditioned bedroom while you listen to the news, and it makes your emotion really go up, that you are so angry. But I said, try to imagine if you are a Coast Guard personnel on board that Coast Guard vessel. You need to probably multiply that to 100 times level of anger. But for me, the Filipino people should not see that as cowardice, but you need to recognize and appreciate that those Coast Guard personnel are maintaining their composure, adhering to the guidance of the President, because we believe that a slight mistake would lead to miscalculation and eventually a kinetic conflict would happen. And that kind of small error would lead to an armed warfare between China and the Philippines. Now, obviously, it's not what we want for the Philippine government. And the same thing with China. We can really tell that China does not also want to have an armed conflict. That's why their response is always below the threshold of armed attack. Now, your question is, how far can we go? How long are we going to maintain this? There are no other ways for us to counter all of this efforts of the Chinese government. Obviously, we are still building and modernizing our armed forces of the Philippines. We're not nuclear powered, but through the modernization efforts, the deepening of security arrangement, making the international community aware of what's happening, we can actually put a pressure on all those like-minded states to come up with collective actions, those tangible policy options. And for us to deter China's aggression. But for us, we don't want to start a shooting war under this administration, sir.
Daghang salamat.
Okay, thank you. We'll do it in this order. Louis, then Tony, and then Michael, and then Eddie on this side, and then Leo. Okay? Pag ano muna tayo ha. I hope we memorize that, but we'll see. And then maybe I'll just add to the question of I'll just add to the question of Comrade. Meron naman daw tayo Commodore ng Malabanan. We can use their water cannon, sa atin si Malabanan. Malabanan water cannon. That's short of a shooting war. De, biro lang. Anyway,
Commodore, thank you very
Governor
much.
Louis.
Commodore, first of all, I would like to commend you for your resolute and steadfast posture in the West Philippine Sea. As a spokesman for the West Philippine Sea, you have become a magnet of all those derogatory statements and fake news from those people who want to espouse the counter narrative on this. My question is that you said that this thing at the West Philippine Sea is an intergenerational issue. But even if we try to ditch or do away with political lens, how do you foresee, for example, in the upcoming elections, if there will be the ascension of an administration which would be, again, friendly to China? How do you see that? Will that intergenerational advocacy be abruptly stopped again?
Well, sir, honestly, I would love to have, a crystal ball to tell whether the next president will be somebody who's going to go against our stand in the West Philippine Sea. But right now, our actions to make sure that the younger generation will still have a president by 2028 to 2034 is that we engage our younger generation. We conduct different talks in different universities. We amplify the transparency efforts. We need to awaken the sense of patriotism of the Filipinos from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao to make sure that the issue in the West Philippine Sea will be an election issue. To make all of those presidential aspirants hear their plans, discuss their policies, so that from there, we can really tell whether these are real politicians who's going to be committed in standing for our rights, or somebody who's just going to make a joke and eventually win. So right now, it's still 2025. There's still 3 more years to go. We need to educate our youth. We need to make sure that they are smart enough to tell who's the best president who's going to continue our fight in the West Philippines.
Okay. Ganun muna natin. Sorry, Tony. Ganun muna tayo kay Eddie and then Tony. Okay?
You mentioned tangible action. I remember the Natuna case in Indonesia. Before, it was the hotbed of activities. Then it died down. Now, why is that so? Because the Indonesian Navy was proactive, and it even rammed the Coast Guard vessels, and even boarded the Coast Guard vessels. Then from then on, nothing happened. Then the action moved to Scarborough. Now in Scarborough, we know that we now have this coalition of forces, including the US, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, even EU. Now, why don't we have them array and arrayed around Scarborough as in a cordon? Because Scarborough is small enough and it borders the Philippines. So wouldn't it be easy for these naval forces to line up around Scarborough in order to deprive the Chinese Coast Guard from encroaching?
Thank you, sir. First of all, sir, Natuna Island does not fall in the South China Sea as a contested area in the South China Sea. Nobody argues with Indonesia making Natuna as a contested territory. It was only the Chinese that put Natuna inside the dash line. Secondly, it was during the time of President Jokowi that they started bombing they considered illegal fishing vessels within their own exclusive economic zone in Natuna Island. But the data would show that there are more Filipino fishing boats that were blown away by the Indonesian government than that of the Chinese. Actually, the ratio, if I can still recall, is 10:1. 10 Filipino fishing boats were blown away by the Indonesian against one Chinese fishing vessel. And Honorable Ambassador from Malaysia would also agree with me that it is wrong to think that the aggression that we are experiencing in the West Philippine Sea is something that is isolated only for the Philippines. On a day-to-day basis, all of these Southeast Asian countries would say that the Vietnamese, for example, are also experiencing Chinese incursion in Paracel Island or even in Vanguard Back. The same thing with the Malaysian in Luconia Shoals and also in Luconia Oil Exploration Area. The same thing with Indonesia. Indonesia, they claim that they were bombing the Chinese. Until now, the Chinese remain to be there. The only difference is that under this administration, we choose to expose all this. But it doesn't mean the Indonesians are successful in driving away the Chinese Coast Guard. For your third question, can we have the like-minded states or the international community to sail out and challenge the excessive claim of the People's Republic of China? We have been doing this right now. We call it the Multilateral Maritime Coordinative Activity. Before, there's only FONOPS of the United States, the freedom of navigation and overfly, to challenge the excessive claim of China. But under this administration, we now have the MMCA. And it's not just with the United States. We can now see German warship, UK, French, Australia, New Zealand. We are actually doing this already, challenging the Chinese government.
There's no sound.
Louder, loud.
Sound.
They're saying it's a isolated event, but what I think Eddie is saying, he wants a coordinated approach. So it is to cordon off the area.
What you mentioned is these are isolated sailings. Now, what I mean is that they be arranged in a chain of naval vessels sailing around the Scarborough Island.
Yes, sir. Sir, the Multilateral Maritime Coordinative Activity is actually a group of warship. It's not just one country. That's why it's multilateral and coordinative, meaning sabay-sabay po sila talaga, sir. And we have been, testing the limits of the Chinese government. For example, how we are looking at the behavior of the Chinese government. How would they react? For example, if this Bajo de Masinloc, the MMCA will be held 40 nautical miles. And then next month, we'll try 35 nautical miles, 30 nautical miles. These are small steps towards directly challenging them from their position right now. But I agree with you, sir. That is something that we need to keep on pushing to make China be deterred in knowing that the international community is behind the Philippine government.
Okay, thank you, Commodore. Tony?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Commodore, for
gracing our meeting. First of all, I just want to make an observation when you mentioned the intergenerational issue. I wish to just commend the patriotism of PDG, Sid, Rodriguez, CB for wearing our good outfit. Yet our future governor is wearing a Mao Zedong, Attorney Louis, you're wearing your Mao Zedong Chinese outfit. With all your outfits, wonderful clothing. I don't know why you chose that today for our Commodore. Tarriela. We are a very fun club, Commodore. Commodore, the second thing I wanted to mention is I did not read about Congressman Duterte's remark, but the first thing I read in social media was your response. 4 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, even before the term of President Marcos, we had in Rockwell Club General Browner as our guest speaker. And I think he was very well received by everybody. We have a positive feeling towards him. I don't think he was chief of staff yet at that time. But I mentioned this because I just want to express our gratitude on behalf of all those who reacted positively to General Browner, to thank you for responding to the attacks of Congressman Duterte. And your defense or your reaction has in fact cost you deeply, because Congressman Duterte has reacted with personal attacks against you. And for that, again, we thank you for standing up. I just have one question. Hypothetically, if you were China, okay, if you were China, sir, you're supposed to defend our country. Hypothetically, if you were China, who would you attack first? Somebody who's close yet superbly defended, or somebody that's far where your jets can reach, that is weak without defense? Because after all, we're talking about, or what you're defending is General Bronner's remark about having missiles for our defense. And Congressman Duterte said, no, having those weapons is not defensive. It's only going to attract so and so. So hypothetically, if you were the Chinese, who would be at today easier to attack and conquer and make a claim on the 9-dash line? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. But before I respond to you, sir, I would like to put myself on Xi Jinping. So if I'm Xi Jinping right now, what would be my response in the entire South China Sea? You know, for a particular leader to decide whether you're going to go to war or you're going to attack any country, there are three considerations that you should always remember. The first one is, what will be your strategic objective? If you go to war today, after lunch, after enjoying your lunch, you need to understand what is your strategic objective, why you're going to war. So if I'm Xi Jinping right now, I would go back on my commitment and promises when I assumed office in 2012. He made a promise in the Chinese Communist Party plenum. He said he's going to realize the China dream. And the China dream is to redeem and vindicate China from the 100 years of humiliation. That is a powerful country, an economic powerhouse, and nobody, not a single Chinese soul, will be living below the poverty line. For more than 13 years already, since he became the president for life of China, he has done a lot of milestones economically. China is the second largest economy in the world, and even have the confidence now to have a trade war with Donald Trump. That's how confident they are right now. So if your commitment is to realize the China dream, I don't think that you will decide tomorrow because you're tired of my face. Xi Jinping is tired of the face of Commodore Tarriela complaining about the West Philippine Sea. So I'll go attack you and make war. So it is not a strategic objective for you to go to war because of that. You need to still refocus, and your commitment is to realize the China dream. That's one. Second is, China is also a victim of their own one-child policy. As a matter of fact, the core group that also advises Xi Jinping only has one son and one daughter. If you are inside the room, whom you also consider your own personal option in giving a sound advice to Xi Jinping, you wouldn't also expect them to say like, yeah, you're correct. Let us send our only son and daughter to war right now, right? And third, it is an aging society already. And the Chinese are good in mathematics and projection. Going to war will not solve their problem for an aging society right now. So the strategic objective of going to war with any other country, whether Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, Brunei, or even with other external countries in the South China Sea, is not something that Xi Jinping has in mind. And we can support that by saying that, that's the reason why China is still, until now, relying on their Coast Guard vessels, Chinese maritime militia, and always attacking only below the threshold of armed attack. Because they don't want to have an escalation of tension that would lead to a kinetic conflict. The second question that he has to respond is, who will be your allies if you go to war? Right now, we are all aware that it is Russia, Iran, and North Korea. They even have a very weird acronym, CRINC, right? China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. Russia, you cannot expect Putin to join Xi Jinping to go to war because his hands are also full with Ukraine war. Iran, they were just bombed by Israel for their nuclear program. North Korea, I don't think Xi Jinping really takes Kim Jong-un seriously, that if he says he will go to war, they will eventually go to war. And then third question is, who will be the allies of other countries if you go to war? Let's take, for example, the Philippines. The South China Sea is so complex that all of the countries and even the European Union are looking at the situation in the entire South China Sea. If China will go to war against the Philippines, it is not just about dealing with the Philippines. You also have to deal with Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and even the Philippines and Brunei. And come to think of it, all of these countries also have their own allies. The European Union is also looking at South China Sea as a very important global trade. So nobody is going to allow China to completely dominate the South China Sea. They also have problem with Japan in East China Sea because of Senkaku. They even have a land border dispute with India, which is also a nuclear country, capable country. So, Xi Jinping, after eating lunch, going to war is something that he doesn't really think about in the next 10 years probably of his life. Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll do Leo and then Mike. Meron ba on this side? Okay. Yung ating Rotaractor and then si PP June. Okay? Pag ganun tayo.
Commodore, I have two questions. Your talk did not address the military installations and landing strips of China. How far are they from the Philippines, and do they pose a serious military threat to the Philippines? That's question number one. And then number two, I go to Guam quite frequently, and I see a lot of military personnel coming here more than going back to Guam. It seems this is Tasan exercise is more of a permanent thing now. So have they, how many Americans are here in the Philippines assisting us? Have they installed anti-missile technology and equipment for us to counter all the missile installations that China has installed out there in the South China Sea?
Thank you, sir. There are two main areas that the Chinese reclaim that we consider it something that we really need to be very cautious. The first one is in Mischief Reef. Mischief Reef is actually only has a distance of 115 nautical miles from Palawan. And that is very close to Ayungin. The reason why President Joseph Estrada decided to run aground BRP Sierra Madre in 1998 was because of China taking over Mischief Reef in 1995, 3 years after the US bases left. So that's the first one that we are currently looking into, Mischief Reef. It has a runway. It is, jet fighters can land there. It also has a very big harbor for its PLA Navy warships. The same thing with Subi Reef. Subi Reef is 280 nautical miles from Palawan, but it is very close from Pag-asa Island. And Pag-asa Island, as we all know, has civilian municipality composed of more than 500 civilians. So that's also a concern. For your second question, how many Americans? I wouldn't tell you the exact number, but the reason why they're here, it's because of the Balikatan exercise and also the capability training that they provide for the Armed Forces of the Philippines, for the Coast Guard, and even for the Philippine Navy. Thanks, sir.
Of course, nobody will know how many Americans are here. But we are mestizo enough to look Americans. Okay, from that side first, Retractor PP Adrian, and then Mike after. No? Pagano muna. Sige.
Good afternoon po, Commodore J. Tanong ko lang din po, no? Kasi kanina you mentioned na, you asked us, the youth, kung if we think that the West Philippine Sea is disputed. And our answers were yes. And personally, I believe that's because that's what we're being fed in the mainstream media, diba? So, and it looks like it is being reclaimed because for me, as I see it po, parang we don't the Philippine Coast Guard patrols the area, but the Philippine government as a whole parang does not do enough in terms of like sending more ships or sending more building structures like what China do. If we believe that this part of West Philippine Sea is ours in the first place, then why is the Philippines like parang nag-hold back on doing something in this area since we believe that this is ours in the first place? Parang ganun po.
Thank you. Have you watched the documentary film Food Delivery?
Food delivery sa ano po ba ito? Sa tawag dito?
The one that was made by Baby Ruth about the West Philippine Sea.
Not yet po, sir.
I think, sir, that's a good project for the Rotary to organize documentary film showing for food delivery. Attorney Calleja is one of the executive producer. So,
Pero jahin naman kung ako magano. But we can show that depende kay President Eddie.
yes, that because for me, food delivery, I was in General Santos, Zamboanga last Saturday. I was giving lecture to the public school teachers about the West Philippine Sea. Nakakalungkot na sabihin ng mga teachers doon na nakukulangan daw sila sa effort ng gobyerno. Nakakalungkot na sabihin na hindi enough ang ginagawa ng sundalo, hindi enough ang ginagawa ng Coast Guard. And I responded to that question by saying like, hindi ko alam kung matutuwa ka sa tanong na yan or malulungkot because we know for a fact that the sacrifices of our members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines who are staying in distant location in the entire South China Sea was to stay there for 2 months, 3 months without internet, without electricity, at sasabihin ng teacher sa Mindanao na kulang ang effort ng gobyerno. Probably that's the only resources that we have right now. Siguro madadagdagan because of the flood control, mababawas na. No?
Yeah.
But for me to hear that kind of comment from, hindi sa'yo sa kanila kasi masyadong, it was asked in a very aggressive tone. But in your, hindi, I'm not referring to your question. So, para sa akin, sometimes looking at it in a way na kulang ba talaga ang effort ng gobyerno? Or probably ito na lang talaga meron tayo. Secondly, if the question is, why are we not more aggressive in building the structures or deploying the military vessels in the West Philippine Sea? The Honorable Malaysian Ambassador is here. The outgoing ASEAN chairman is Malaysia. And we all know for a fact that there is a 2000 DOC, Declaration of Conduct in the South China Sea. And for President Marcos, this is the only thing that we can really tell other Southeast Asian countries that we are abiding with. We have the moral ascendancy to say that we're not militarizing the dispute. We are not reclaiming other unoccupied maritime features because we honor that Declaration of Conduct in 2002. That is the reason why the Department of Foreign Affairs would not really recommend for us to alter anything in the South China Sea because we honor that agreement, the 2002 Declaration of Conduct.
Okay, so let's have just two short questions because wala na rin tayong time. O sige, last na lang Mike, June, and then last si George. And then later you can ask naman Commodore Jay, no? Whatever questions you like. So last three na lang.
Just a quick one.
Mike, June, and then George.
Okay, Commodore, I commend you for your courage to face this information war that you bring against the rhetorics of China and even inside our country because we are not aware of what's going on. We appreciate this type of lecture. First time that I experienced this and my patriotic heart was touched. My question is, will there be a subject that will be taught in the universities, high school, or even grade school to make them learn what the Philippines is in terms of our sovereignty and in terms of this land or sea that we own, and to protect it against this situation? So will there be a plan, or is there an ongoing educational approach to our students in the country?
Thank you, sir. During the time of the Vice President Duterte, Sara Duterte, we already reached out to the Department of Education to include the West Philippine Sea for the curriculum of the 4th grade, 6th grade, and 10th grade. Because these are the academic levels for elementary and high school that talks about geography and history. And unfortunately, it was not her priority. But when Senator Angara became the Secretary of DepEd, we once again engaged him for the possibility of changing the curriculum. And luckily, he was very active in engaging the curriculum designers. That's why next school year, for 4th grade, 6th grade, and 10th grade, there will already be a curriculum for Araling Panlipunan and Social Studies that discuss the West Philippine Sea. Tama po yung sinabi nyo, it is through education that we can prepare our next generation.
Ayun, mabuti meron na tayo sa school, no? June, and then George. And then we'll have our final words.
Good afternoon, Commodore. Back in 2016, when just at the start of the term of President Duterte, his Finance Secretary, Ben Diokno, was a guest speaker of a joint meeting of the Rotary Club of Manila and the Rotary Club of Makati. And during that joint meeting, I suggested to Finance Secretary Diokno at the time, Ben Diokno, why, if we are so concerned about the defense of the Philippines and we do not have a budget, why don't the government put up a, issue what we call defense bonds for the public to invest and to fund the modernization and expansion of the military, most especially in the defense of our maritime territory. So that's what I suggested. Perhaps that thing should be brought up once again, because the excuse always is that we don't have the money to provide for our own defense. So if the Filipinos are really intent in defending our territory, then let us put our money where our mouth is.
I agree with you, sir. I think that is a plan worth looking into. But again, because of, totoo to sir, hindi to joke, because of the flood control project na tinanggal ngayon, no? Sa gaan natin for 2026, there is a very big fiscal space now to support the development of the Coast Guard and even the Armed Forces of the Philippines. So what you said, that's also something that the Department of National Defense can also probably discuss with the Department of Budget, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and yung kinonfiscate na helicopter at planes ni Saldico, lilipat na daw sa Coast Guard. Okay, last question and then we'll wrap up after that. George?
Thank you, Commodore Jay, for enlightening us. I just have this question to ask that I read, this was some time ago, last year, wherein the Naval Operation Chief, Admiral Lisa Franchetti of the U.S., she has already laid out the preparedness of the naval-related operations in preparation for 2027. Okay. And they're talking about, the proper maintenance of their fleet, submarines and vessels. They're talking about preparing their F-18 Hornet. They're preparing about hiring more people for training. Also in the preparation of developing and integrating unmanned and autonomous system. Now, are we looked into that when you think that they on their side are doing such preparation, even a year, 2027? And subsequent to that, there's also the issue of mandatory ROTC, which we haven't had for quite some time, probably 15 years. In my younger days, that was 60 years ago, I had LaSalle's naval ROTC. For me, I'm in favor of that. I just like to hear from you, share your inputs with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Regarding the article of Admiral Franchetti, sir, her basis to write such article about the preparation of the naval capability of the U.S. is because of also their own estimate that by 2027, the Chinese PLA Navy will already have almost exact capability of that of the U.S. Navy, that they can be able to occupy Taiwan on that same year. And I don't think that the Americans have anticipated that this will be the flash point wherein it will be a showdown between these two great power competition. Our issue in the West Philippine Sea is completely disconnected with whatever interests of the Americans are. I would like to highlight that whatever is happening in Taiwan Strait, these are two isolated issues. These are not related. With China's issue in Taiwan and with China's violations in the West Philippine Sea, this is not something that we see as interconnected. That's what Secretary Gilbert Chodoro said. These issues are not connected with each other. We should not make a conclusion that the Americans are doing this because of Taiwan, or the Americans are doing this because the Chinese are going to be at par with them by 2027.
Well, Commodore J, earlier it was asked, I think by Leo, about the number of American personnel, okay, uniform or non-uniform. And I've seen them a lot. I've seen them in Angeles when I went there to attend one of our Chamber and Commerce activity. And when I went to Cebu also, I see you can sight them right away because they're big, crew cut, and wearing military boots. Okay. In line with what you just mentioned, I've also heard that Philippine, where the Americans look towards the Philippine country as a whole, that we are the unsinkable aircraft carrier. We are the unsinkable. We have 2 batteries of missiles that are here. So that we have to take note of that, no matter what happened, we are viewed as being aligned. Okay, so it's a concern. And I hope that if our Defense Secretary Gibo words is true, hopefully we will be isolated from that.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Just to add, the argument that the Philippines and Japan are 2 unsinkable aircraft carrier by the U.S. government is a security concept that was made during the Cold War.
Yeah.
Right now, nobody needs an aircraft carrier to launch a nuclear weapon. The Americans can do it from the deepest seabed using their submarines, sir.
Okay. That's food for thought. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
ROTC, yes.
Yes, sir. Our OTC, we support that. We also want to push for our OTC because the younger generations need to have at least basic military training. And through our OTC, we can probably inject more activities for them to be more patriotic, for them to have a sense of responsibility for this country.
Yeah, more discipline.
Yes, sir.
I totally agree. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you,
Colonel Jay.
thank you. And maybe i-plug ko na lang, the Coast Guard is also asking for recruits, reserve Coast Guard. So pwede ka pa, comrade. Kaya pa yan, kaya pa yan. So anyway, the message will be given by me in behalf of the President who is still having his good laryngeal. Sobra kang kumanta, pare. So I would just like to thank Commodore J, let's give him a good hand, for being our speaker today and for enlightening us on the West Philippine Sea and the information, and maybe from whatever information we have been given, we can disseminate that for the better knowledge of our countrymen. And I would just like to note that maybe we should do this more for our men in service. We just always have to thank you. Thank you, sir, for your service. Yeah. So everybody that we see, we have to, again, thank for their service. And in behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati, we are giving you a plaque with a reef bud because Commodore, we are planting reefs for our maritime area, and we would put your name in one of those reef buds already. And of course, while watching the Chinese in the West Philippine Sea, you can drink a bottle of wine. So you can tell them, instead of shooting, we can just toast and drink and have peace. So salamat. Thank you po. Let's give him a big hand.
Well, we have to ask that question because that's a reality.
Okay. O, raffle. Sino bang manalo? Sige, raffle mo na. For one Makalan? Michael Del Carmen. Si Mike. Oh, tama? Tama yung nagbibigay ng question eh. Nananalo ng Makalan. Congratulations. Nice job.
Yeah.
Siguro can we have a photo with the Rotary Club of